Hey, welcome to Festive Creations by Stephanie. These are just a few of the supplies that we're going to be using. Starting off with the giraffe that I purchased from Amazon. We have a 15-inch wire work frame with twist ties and 21-inch deco mesh. It's actually a value mesh in chocolate brown. We're going to start by making about a 5 to 6 inch fold over on our deco mesh and gather that up. This will make our starter loop. So our starter poof, we're going to place that in our first twist tie as close to the frame as possible and give that twist tie a couple of good twists. Then we're going to measure out about 8 inches. So the top row on my work form is an 8-inch poof. So I'm going to gather that at the 8-inch mark and then place that into the next poof. Excuse me, the next work tinsel tie. Again, just a reminder, get your mesh as close to the wreath frame as possible before tying it down. And just a couple of twists, guys, are all you need. So we're going to complete that process and do 8-inch loops all the way around the top row. Once we've completed the top row, we're going to take that down directly to the second row. And on the bottom row, we're going to do 10-inch poofs. So we're going to measure out 10 inches of mesh, gather that together, and put it in each of the tinsel ties on the bottom row. All right, let's take some 10-inch mesh and we're going to cut 16-inch strips. So we're going to cut enough strips to go around the outer edge of our wreath form. So in this case, I know that my wreath form has 10 twist ties on the outer edge. So let's go ahead and get those cut. Now this particular wreath, I actually ran out of mesh towards the 21-inch mesh towards the end of my wreath form. So I, as a creative, of course, decided to go with a different color for the header. So what I'm doing is I'm adding a few ruffles where I came up short, and I'm doing them in a different color intentionally so that it will appear as a halo or a header or a highlighted. So we're just going to add a few ruffles by just simply walking up the center of that 10-inch mesh, pinching it together and making a ruffle. And that's going to fill in very nicely, and you'll see how this all comes together and not noticeable at all, and it'll actually look like it was intentionally made that way. Now, even though the wreath looks a little dense at this moment, when we add our other elements, it's going to fill in quite nicely, as you can tell by the final product. There's our giraffe, and you see the colors from that halo or that header that I made actually pulls out some of the colors in the giraffe. This next part is where we're going to add the curls to the outer edge. So those 16-inch cuts that we made, we're going to curl each in towards each other. So we're going to place that in the outer edge of the wreath form, right on top of the twist tie. So I'm not opening the previous twist tie. I'm not opening it before. I'm just placing it right on top and adding a new twist. So let's show you that again a little bit more close up. So again, I'm taking the cut edge, rolling it inward on both sides towards each other, and the raw edge is now buried pinching that in the middle, making our curls, and I'm going to place that curl side down inside of each twist tie on the outer edge of our wreath form. Who's ready for ribbon? My favorite part. So I went ahead and cut 14-inch strips of the 2.5-inch ribbon, and I dovetailed the ends of each of the 2.5-inch. Those are going to actually be used on the outer edge of our wreath form. I also cut 27-inch strips of 1.5-inch ribbon in the brown and cream polka dot that you see here. And I cut 8 of those, dovetailed, and I also cut 10 of the 1.5-inch strips of the cream colored. Those are also 27-inch. So 27-inch for the brown and cream polka dot, 27-inch for the cream, and 14-inch for the 2.5-inch tails. So the 2.5-inch tails, we're just simply going to fold in half, crease it, then pinch that together. That is going to now be placed on the outer edge only of our wreath. Now let's take one of those 27-inch in the cream colored, and we're going to make a little bow tie. So I simply make a loop, find my center point, bring my tails forward, and that is going to go right on top of the 2.5-inch ribbon. I am going to untwist the twist tie and put the two ribbons together. But I'm also going to show you what I find to be a little bit quicker way so that I'm not untying, retying my twist ties. But this is a great example of one way that you can do this. And let's show you what this is going to look like. So with all the colors blended together, now we have our chocolate brown mesh, our striped ribbon, our solid ribbon, and the colors are starting to blend together really nice. So this is my Bowdabra. I use my Bowdabra a lot just to hold things. So it's like an extra set of hands for me. So again, I'm going to find the center point of my 2.5-inch ribbon. I'm going to make my little bow tie with my 1.5-inch ribbon. Find my center point on it. And now I have both of those ribbons together, and I don't have to untie and retie the twist tie. I can just simply place that on top of my existing twist tie and add that in. So it takes a couple of extra steps out of there where you're untying and retying. If you don't have a Bowdabra, again, it's one of my most useful tools, even if it's just a helping hand. You can also, I've seen people use things like clothespins to help. However, for the ribbon itself, I don't find that practical. So we're going to repeat that process so that we have this combination with the 2.5 and 1.5-inch ribbons all the way around on the outer edge of our wreath on top of those loops that we placed earlier. All right, we have the entire outer perimeter of our wreath form completed, and look at how full this is getting already. So now let's take our brown and cream polka dot 27-inch strips, and we're now going to make a bow tie out of those. And once again, we're going to put that ribbon right on top of the existing twist tie. It is not necessary to open the twist tie and place it inside. There's enough length on it that you can put it right on top of the existing twist tie. So let's repeat that and go all the way around the top perimeter of our wreath form. Wow, look at the colors together. Isn't that amazing? So it's really starting to take shape. Let's take our giraffe and then, of course, as always, remove any tags. So as I said, this giraffe was actually purchased on Amazon, and it is a very, very nice giraffe. In order to attach things such as a stuffed animal, I use either a 22 gauge or 26 gauge floral wire. This happens to be a 22 gauge, which is a little bit heavier and keeps its shape a little bit better than the 26. And of course, it makes it a little stronger, heavier wire. So I'm checking my placement to see exactly where I want our giraffe to sit, and then determine where I'm going to place those wires, where it's going to attach to the wreath form. Now I'm just going to simply take that wire, feed it through the fabric on the giraffe. I'm going to cut this at about 20 inches just so that I know I have enough wire to attach it to my wreath form. And I'm going to give it a couple of twists on the fabric to secure it to the giraffe. I'm going to repeat that at the second area where I determined it's going to attach to my wreath frame. Feed it through the fabric, and then give it a couple of twists once I have it fed through around the fabric to attach it to the giraffe. You just really need to make sure that you have enough wire. It's always better to have too much than not enough so that you can attach it to your frame. Now I go back to my wreath frame, determine my placement again, and of course with this one, since I created that header, I want to make sure that his head is at the top of the wreath towards that lighter color fabric deco mesh that we used. Now I'm simply going to work the wires through the mesh and bring it out the back side of the wreath. So just pushing the wire down through the openings of the deco mesh. Of course, I have 2 wires, so I'm going to push 2 wires through and then wrap that around one of the wire frames behind the wreath. It's kind of hard to do this at an angle and show you guys too. All right, we have his head attached. Now we're going to do the bottom of the giraffe. And repeat that process. Feed that wire through the mesh and bring it through the back side, 1 wire on each side of the wire frame so that I can attach it to the wire frame. And there you have it. The giraffe is now secured to the wreath. Now it's time to make a bow, guys. So again, I'm going to use my Bowdabra, and I'm going to give this about a 12-inch tail on one side, and I'm going to make 6-inch loops. So each loop is about 6 inches in length, and then I'm checking the measurements to make sure that both loops are about the same size. It doesn't have to be exact, and sometimes it's okay to have different size loops. It gives it a little more whimsical look. So for our 1.5-inch cream colored, I'm doing 4 loops on each side. Now, this particular bow is going to set off to the side and hang off on the left side of this wreath. So I'm actually making my second tail a little bit longer, about 18 inches, because I want it to hang lower than the tails on the inside. So now our 1.5-inch irregular stripe, tan and cream. Going to repeat that process, except on the tan and cream, I'm going to do 5 loops. So I'm going to come in about a 1/2 inch shorter than the cream colored loops. And on this color ribbon, I'm going to do 3 loops on each side with a final loop even shorter yet. So the final loop is going to be just about 2 inches long. So you see right now I have 3 loops on each side, and my final loop is going to be about 2-inch loop. And that's going to create a center loop, and that will help hide our wire when we attach this to our floral wire. So again, I'm going to take about a 24-inch piece of floral wire. I'm going to place that down on top of my ribbon. And you can put the wire down on your Bowdabra before you begin. Everyone does it a little bit differently. I tend to do it this way so that my twist for my wire is already on the back side of my bow. Once I've added my wire, I twist the bow, not the wire, to get a stronger, tighter grip with my wire so that my ribbon does not slide around. All right, we've got our bow fluffed out. Now we're ready to attach it to our wreath. So once again, I'm going to take those wires that we used to create the bow with, and I'm going to feed those down inside through the decomesh to the back side and attach it to the wire frame on the back side. All right, now that we have the bow attached, I'm going to take each of the ribbon tails and I'm going to use my fingers and just curl them up to about a 1-inch curl. So not even a 1 inch, the diameter of my finger. And I'm going to roll those up towards the bow. I'm going to do that with each one of the tails. So we should have 4 tails. Remember, I cut the outer tails longer than the inner tails. Once those are all curled up, I'm going to take the inside of the curls and pull it towards me gently. Not too much, just to give it a little whimsical curl. Look at our finished product. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the tutorial and thanks for watching.